Now, and dessert, I wanted to make a few comments and ultimately propose a toast to Will and Sarah. So this is good. I get to cross one more thing off my bucket list, and I only have one left after this. I gave up on swimming the English Channel. I just gave up. Why bother? And the dinner with Dalai Lama isn't working out either. So this is it. The one thing after this that I do want to do is climb to the top of Mount Triglav in Slovenia. But nobody in this room, except a few people, know what Slovenia is, let alone where it is. You should know that Will is Slovenian.
Not Russian.
Okay. We're going to roll you out over here so you can hear better.
No, I'm fine.
All right. So that's my dad. And he's joined us today. Made the trip in from Cleveland. He's 94.
All right.
And going strong. He's in a wheelchair, but he can actually walk, but it's much more convenient to get pushed around. So we're so glad he's here.
Thank you.
But to prepare for this event, first of all, I came to realize I've never done this before. I've never given a toast. I wasn't the best man for anybody, and nobody said, "Bill, could you give a toast?" So I had to do some research, and I kind of wondered, why did they call it a toast? Why did they call it a toast? So thank goodness for Google, and Snopes has all what you need to know. And I checked it out, and if this is true, if it's right, it was on the internet. So there was something called a loving cup. This kind of goes back to like Robin Hood days. Loving cup. They didn't have glasses and all of that, and they had this wine in this big bowl. And at a wedding, they would put the wine in there, and they would put a piece of toast in there. It was spiced toast because for most weddings, they weren't kings and queens. They were just common people like us, and the wine wasn't all that good. So the toast kind of covered the taste. So they passed around the loving cup, and the last person to drink were the bride and groom, and they got to also eat the toast. So that's why they call it a toast. And if you don't believe me, check Snopes. So I also ran across why you clink the glasses, because that's why you do that. So what I found out is that it has to do with knowing the first story, because once they started to have glasses, they didn't have the cup going around. And yet, in order to show kind of a cohesion, a unity, that they would put their glasses together. And then they were all, for one split second, drinking kind of in a common sort of way. So that's why they clink the glasses, but there's some false stories about the glasses. One of them is that they were afraid of getting poisoned, and they wanted to slosh their drinks around so it would jump in other glasses so people wouldn't poison them. But it's not true. And
check Snopes.
Yeah. And the other thing was that if you give a toast with somebody with water instead of wine, it's a curse, and you hope they drown. But that's only true if you're in the Navy. And the person you're toasting is like the admiral of or the head of the ship. So you guys aren't in the Navy, and I don't think you'll ever be. So that's the background, okay? So what do we want to say here? Okay. And I also saw a lot of tips on the internet of how to do this and do it right. But I'm not going to give you a poem or a skit or a song, and I promise not to cry. So, well, what I do want to, there's two things I want to go over, and that is, the first one is, how did these guys meet? That's important, because as you all know, these are like family stories. If you have kids, almost the first thing they ask you, Mom, how'd you meet Dad? So you got to have your story ready. And what they had this website, you probably all went to it, thepetrovics.com. You could go there, and it's really great to have your own website. I don't know how they did it or how much it cost, but it was great.
I don't even know.
$12.
But but it said there was a drop down that said how we met, and it said Will and Sarah met in Chicago in June of 2015. 2015. June of 2015. So that's it, how they met. They met in Chicago. But it doesn't, I'm curious, that doesn't tell me exactly how they met. So I've been doing some more research. and talking to Will a little bit about this, because at first he told me, I met a girl. How'd you meet a girl? Oh, I met her on the internet. All right, so how does that work? Most of our families, like the family stories, like with my dad, you're in a small village in the old country with his father, and you know, there's only 5 girls, and you got to pick one of them because it's a small town. And I won't even go into Kentucky. But now they're in the big city. They're in Chicago. So how did this work? So okay, there's some software, and for those people who are single, Hinge was the key ingredient here. And Will told me we used Hinge. So, okay, now I can go on the internet and see it and look at it. And they have, it was pretty cute. They have a little cartoon about a guy who was having trouble with all kinds of other software, but he went to Hinge and he went through this door and every angels were singing, and
That's how it happened.
They found that person. But here's the thing, what the unique thing about Hinge is. Okay, Will says I want to meet a girl. That was good. And Sarah said I want to meet a girl. And they give a certain amount of information, but then Hinge, as far as I understand it, behind the scenes, checks out their social media and sees if either of them know somebody in common. So Will has friends, so-called friends on Facebook, and Sarah does too. But one of them has a friend in common, so they get to see each other's information. Because if they both have a friend in common, maybe they have something in common. So, but Will, this is how many friends Will has: 1,406. And Sarah has 833. So
somebody cleans her friends list.
So one of those people that they have on their list is the same person.
Didn't we figure out who it was?
And the thing
Katie
is,
right now.
okay, so
I think.
keep that thought in mind. Just hold that thought for a second. I'm switching totally here to college. So a lot of you might have met your wife or husband in college. That's kind of what college is for, something. Right? Don't graduate until you found someone. All these people are going for 5 years because they could get the courses done, but they haven't found the woman or the man. So anyhow, is it, you know somebody like that?
Yeah. 4 of them.
Well, it's not a bad thing, because that's where I found my wife. I found my wife at college.
In the library.
I did. And she worked in the business library, and I studied in the business library, and there she was.
And I worked hard.
So,
Long hours.
and actually my dad found his wife at college. So that's kind of the old-fashioned way. But But Will and Sarah didn't go to the same college. Will went to Indiana University and Sarah went to Loyola. So that didn't help them, but it did help them. This is the key. Okay, Sarah went to Loyola, and that's because she knew about Loyola from Jake, right? That Jake had a good experience there. And she looks up to Jake. And so she went to Loyola. And when Will told me I met a girl from Loyola, I was actually thought that was great because I went to a college, John Carroll University, which is very, very similar to Loyola. And if any of you had the opportunity of a Jesuit interaction or Jesuit education, you might know it's a little bit different, and I think a very positive thing. So Sarah went to Loyola, and the first good thing that happened is she met Maria, right?
Heyo.
But I don't think Maria knew Will. She's not the one. She's not the one.
Oh.
But the good thing happened is she met Maria, and here Maria is, and you met her at Loyola. You didn't know her. But here's what Loyola says on their website. We prepare people to live extraordinary lives. So there you go. You got a good one, Will. So here's the thing. I'm saying to myself, who is this person that caused them to get together? Because they should be here. Who are they? They're important. But I asked Will, who was it? And he said he doesn't know, but he thinks he knew somebody else at Loyola. And that's all I know. That's all I know.
Josh knows her too.
I've
heard of her.
So anyhow, somehow there's a story here on how they met, and it has to do with this computer software and friends and common friends and the technology age. Let them get together in spite of the fact that you didn't go to IU and you didn't go to Loyola, and Chicago's too big to just like meet it by chance. And so this worked out really, really well. So I want to switch the subject totally to one other topic, and this was on this list here. Okay, it says 6, 13, 15 first met. So we just covered how that happened. So we all know a little bit more about that. And then she said yes, that was great.
We had a big party, broke your speakers.
They did that. They did this engagement, popped the question at our house, basically down the road from our house. That was really nice. And Will and I kind of set it up out in the forest so that they stumbled on this bottle of champagne, and we didn't put the rings there in case some kids came and stole them. I got there. But here's the last thing. 11, 11, 17, that's tomorrow. And by the way, smart choice to get an easy to remember date for your anniversary. Because you could get in trouble by forgetting the anniversary of your spouse. He goes in both directions. Here, she steals his last name. So what's going to happen here is tomorrow we're suddenly going to have Mrs. Petrovic.
Yes!
And that's not always a given, but I'm glad you went down that path. And I have to tell you a few things about the name Petrovic, because you're going to be stuck with it now
Petrovic.
for a long time.
Petrovic.
So you come from a 2-syllable last name, and the only thing better than a 2-syllable last name is a 1-syllable last name in the pronunciation department. I mean, who's going to mispronounce John Wayne or Gerald Ford? I mean, it doesn't happen. Your name now, 2 syllables, that's pretty darn good. They might say, is that with 1 T or 2 L's? But it's going to get it's going to get out there. Now you're going to 3 syllables. And I've learned that the American public in general has a lot of trouble pronouncing 3-syllable words. So you're going to hear everything. My new car talks to me, and it looks through my directory, and if I get a text from my wife, they're sending me a text from Kathy Petrovic. And I say, Siri, why are you saying Petrovic? It's Petrovic. There's no H at the end. But Siri says it. Now, Alexa's smarter. She actually says it right. So, I don't understand that. It's whoever programs these robots. But all I can tell you in the advice department on the last name is, when someone says to you, did I pronounce your name correctly, like at a hotel, you're checking in, no matter what they say yes. Just say yes. It's not worth it. It really isn't. So you'll hear everything. You'll wonder where that H came from, and just let it roll off. It's no big deal. So okay. So here's coming up to the toast now. So one thing I forgot to say. If you have a wine glass and you do and you're going to clink it, which we will. It could be a water glass, though, if you don't have a wine glass.
If you want to drown.
Only in the Navy.
If you tap it down at the bottom part instead of the top part, and if you hold it by the stem, you get a much prettier sound. So just to make beautiful music together, we could do that. But here it is. So Will and Sarah, you're about to embark on a great adventure, and all the best to you. And I collaborated with my dad on this because he had 67 years of marriage, and he knows what advice is important and isn't. But our advice to you is have fun.
We love you. Don't drown. Don't drown. Joey, I didn't hit you, girl.
True, have fun. And now eat this pasta because I ordered